evening, boys. I caught me at a good time. I'm just cleaning up, about to go eat dinner, so. Yeah, one nice thing about the contract is it always gives me some place to live, even if it is under this humble abode. It's nothing too special, but I sleep right over here. I could take y'all inside if you want.
So when did you lose your eyesight?
What do you mean?
You have the stick and the sunglasses. I just assumed you were blind.
No, I can see fine.
Oh, okay. My apologies, sir.
Right this way. My name's Leighton Parker, formerly a member of Secret Chorus.
I am Ashley Murrah, formerly a member of the Secret Chorus.
I'm Rivers Rich, a former member of the Secret Chorus.
I'm Presley Hammond, formerly a member of the Secret Chorus.
The Secret Chorus was a group that quickly became one of the greatest Christian a cappella groups ever assembled, and yet their fall was just as rapid. How could such a great group of artists fade into obscurity after such a short period of time? My name is Slice, and I'll be taking you through this roller coaster ride that is the Secret Chorus. The co-founders, Rivers and Leighton, started humbly, originally working in a group of amateur actors, singers, and puppeteers. Puppeteering was largely considered their first love, and quite possibly their greatest skill. However, it was tragedy that shook them both to the core, causing them both to quit their group.
There is no hope.
One thing that led me and Rivers to choose the path of singing professionally rather than puppeteering, which some could argue was our first love. There was an incident one day. A very dear friend of ours, his name was Smirk. All I can say is we found him in a pool of his own blood. He had been split in half after taking a nasty fall from the baptistry.
So, we actually found this book on the baptistry, a very specific book, There Is Hope. But, apparently for him there was not. Out of all these pages, not a single one of them helped.
And we just knew we couldn't go on. We couldn't go on with puppeteering. Well, me personally, it's been plenty long enough. Although still so upsetting that we lost Smirk, I have been able to get over it and be consoled. However, for Rivers, that's not the case. But the good thing about that is Smirk's death sort of acted as a catalyst for what would go on to happen next, and we just seemed determined to honor him, and in that is where the idea for Secret Chorus flourished.
Pretty soon after his death, we thought a band would be together, and we had the talent. We just needed a few extra members and we'd be set.
It was a long time ago that I realized I could sing. It was just, I was in the shower, I was belting out some, I believe it was Michael Jackson, and I hit every single high note. And so that was when I realized I could sing. We looked at each other and we said, we can make something happen here.
It was Rivers' idea to create the band, and they both began to search for other talent. They would go on to discuss the process for finding talent in interviews from early in the band's tenure.
I met Ashlyn at a Kermit the Frog Rainbow Connection audition, and I looked over to the left and I went, "Whoa, you're good!" And I was like, "Hey, you want to be a part of this band I have with this dude who plays with puppets?" And she was like, "Sure." And that's how we all got together.
So, as I already said, me and Rivers, being together in that small little group, we knew we had it. It was later on when Rivers introduced me to a female by the name of Ashlyn, and she was actually baking cupcakes, and we said, now this is something we can have. And then she could sing too, which was ironically exactly what we needed. Presley, I was watching a third grade basketball game at the local YMCA, and as you do, they had a national anthem. And sure enough, Presley walks up and she sings it. And I said, that's the best national anthem I've ever heard.
When they asked me to join, it was strange at first, to say the least. But it was an honor to be asked, and, you know, it was kind of spur of the moment, but that's kind of how I roll, so I said yes.
I've always wondered how Leighton found me at that basketball game. I mean, who just goes to YMCA games for fun? It was already weird enough that I was singing the national anthem, but for Leighton to be watching was even weirder.
And we had to go to extreme lengths to find the people we wanted for the band.
I wasn't exactly sure they were serious, but then they started singing, and I knew it was the real deal. Being in a band is something every kid wants to do, and here was my chance.
The secret chorus was assembled, and they began to get to work. There is a rumor that the name of the secret chorus originated from the fact that they were breaking quarantine laws in order to get together to rehearse. However, none of the members will confirm or deny. After a short time rehearsing came the first live performance, which was a crowd of around 5 people. However, it was broadcast to at least 100 people. Ironically, one of those 100 was none other than the famous entrepreneur and record producer, Matthew Barnhill. And let's just say, Matthew loved what he heard. Calls were made to the secret chorus themselves. At the time of the call, Ashlyn and Presley were both in the bathroom. Rivers and Leighton decided who should pick up the phone, and in turn, Leighton became the member in charge of dealing with the record label.
So, me and Rivers were alone in the office at that point. The ladies had gone to the females' room. And the phone started ringing. And me and Rivers looked at each other and said, "Who gets it?" So, real quick, I obviously just started doing this. That's rock, paper, scissors. We know what to do. So I beat him. He went paper like a fool. I went scissors. Got him every time. Best 2 out of 3. I won. I picked up the phone, and who is it but Matthew Barnhill of Bernie Brotherhood Records? I'm a huge fan of his. I was just in shock.
Now, when I lost that rock, paper, scissors match, 2 out of 3, of course. I had no idea what was going on. Leighton just said he was on the phone with a fan. But from this point on, Matthew would only be communicating through Leighton. I didn't even know we were being called by a record label.
Now, I realized that someone probably should have stayed and watched the boys, but that would mean that I would have to go to the bathroom by myself. And that breaks girl code.
When we came back, there was no mention of a call, no mention of a record label, and most importantly, no mention that Leighton was in charge of all of these things. That's probably what came back to bite us in the butt.
Once Leighton hung up the phone, he said, "Hey, maybe we should get a manager," and I thought, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
Leighton and Rivers began search for the manager, a rather quick search as they only interviewed one person, and they would hire him immediately. The candidate they chose was Jacob Dukes, who was serving as a youth minister at the church that both Rivers and Leighton attended.
We went ahead and hired Jacob. We had known him very well. He was our youth minister at the church before. He was older than us, and I thought, if he's already graduated college, surely he knows what a manager is supposed to do. So he was the first one we looked at and the first one we hired.
Now, while it is true Jacob had no managerial experience, he was a friend of ours, so we were pretty much thinking, what's the worst that could happen?
With the manager hired, Leighton and Matthew got back in touch. It was then that Jacob and Leighton would go into the Bernie Brotherhood's record offices and negotiate a contract. It was here that Jacob would show his managerial ineptitude, as shown in these never-before-seen clips.
The Lord says, forgive. But Aaron Rodgers, I'll never forgive you for taking away Jacoby and Faith Ann. You murderer! How long have you guys been here?
We were in the middle of our meeting and you just started sobbing.
We're trying to negotiate the contract.
Regina? Regina! Hey! You're supposed to tell our guest 10-minute intervals. 10 minutes. Remember? 3-minute breaks, 10-minute intervals. Thank you. Alright, back to business. I'm a pretty generous guy, so I'm figuring we're gonna have an even split, 95%, 5%. Probably gonna bring in around $700 million the first week. Regina. Regina! The phone! Regina! Pick it up! Now! So anyway, I know that numbers are hard, but don't worry about it. I'm the producer, I'm the manager, I'm gonna crunch them, we're gonna have some big time cash flow. And I got some perks for you two because I know that you're the team leads on this mission. So, first of all, I'm gonna increase this parking lot. It's kind of whack right now. So, I'm gonna increase the size by 25%, 100% gravel. And for you, Layton, I got something really special. My gold linkage.
Are you for real?
And there's a lot more where that came from.
Where?
If I told you, I would be rich. Let's make it happen.
Awesome.
We're in. Good work, boys. It's a pleasure doing business with you. The contract? Well, basically, it outlines all the money arrangements, and it also had a clause that came with a special bonus. We're actually expanding the parking lot for the church, and they were very happy about that. Very happy about the contract all around, and I think it's going to be a great deal for them.
This is kind of a secret, but he gave me a little gold chain, and after that happened, I stopped listening.
Everyone knows the story about how we were taken advantage of when our contract was signed. Part of the reason that happened was because not one person had brain cell to negotiate it for us. But I do have to say, when they told me that we were signed, it was one of the happiest days of my life.
I kind of figured something was off. I asked about the negotiations, and all Layton could say was, he gave me this cool chain. I just knew it was too good to be true. There had to be some kind of catch.
Now, looking back, Matthew was a pretty sketchy guy. At one point, he was trying to sell me this beverage that would make me sound like Michael Jackson. Needless to say, it didn't work. I didn't think about it much at the time, but I still don't sound like Michael Jackson. I've been drinking that drink for the past 3 months now.
While they were all ignorant to the fact that they were getting taken advantage of, they would continue to sing together, singing in a way that was better than any had heard before, and work on their album had begun. Because Matthew would begin to promote their group in his own interviews, the hype of the group was growing.
What do I think about this group? They're basically, in my mind, the next Beatles, no doubt, and Dawkins mixed into one. I think that the album is just changing the way that music sounds as a whole. A lot of the times we hear beat machines or acoustics, but with this we have it all. We have rapping, guitar solos by Slice, 4-part harmonies, anything that anyone could like in music we have, and I think it'll be the next Bad by Michael Jackson. Anyone that purchases the album by this great supergroup will receive a signed copy of Lovey by Mary McCracken. It's actually signed by me, but hey, that's better than anything I've heard yet. So yeah, Lovey by Mary McCracken. It's a biography written about Lovey Smith, the Chicago Bears head coach. I think you'll really love it. Lovey it.
However, there was conflict brewing between the group. The popular single Party by Rivers and Layton, which was dubbed a solo venture that had no implications of the secret chorus ending by the record label, was actually caused by anger between the group members on the speed in which they learned songs.
I'm not gonna lie, it gets quite irritating whenever 2 members of the group are perfect and the other 2 aren't so. So what happened is me and Rivers decided it might be better if we just split, and we started work on the single. I think it's gonna go pretty well.
What's the single called?
Party.
Now, originally, me and Layton were pretty upset the girls weren't learning fast enough. So we branched off our own music video called Party. And there was definitely something there.
Hey, it's the guys who party! Let's party!
If you're not dancing, you're not doing it right.
Unicorns are cool. Dancing with a Mermaid. Slide in. Making beats. Jam sesh. Whoa there, Umbrella. Eric. Don't eat that back. Eric. We miss our dear friend Smurf. Why'd you have to leave us? Disrespecting handicaps. Peekaboo. Nay nay bug. In the toilet. Peekaboo again. Howdy y'all. Chick hicks. Kachiga. Making plans. Disrespecting handicaps again. We're sorry. Smirks on the ground. Broken neck. I hate Mondays. Just dance, guys. Please buy our album. Please, please.
Secret Course is driving me insane. It's like the worst river.
It's absurd how slow they take to learn songs.
It really
It's
is.
crazy.
I don't understand. We need to make a new group. Hey, Ashlyn, we're actually thinking about breaking away from Secret Chorus. Do you want to join us?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
We already recorded one single. It's called Party. I'm sure you've heard of it.
I haven't.
really
It sounds
good.
really dope.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. Yeah, we're actually making a new song called No Cop, No Stop.
It's about the safety of not stopping at a stop sign.
Green means go, yellow means faster, red means stop, but only if you wanna.
In my opinion, running stop signs is much more funner.
Stop signs are for ladies. Yeah, Ashley, could you make some copies real quick? We need about 12, if that's alright.
And I think this chain is a little going away party.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I'm on it. Okay.
Awesome.
You really made me make copies. Like, I haven't even sung one note. It's dumb. I'm done.
You know, it was actually quite sad because our solo album had to come to a close after we had some technical difficulties. You can describe what happened.
No, I mean, we couldn't figure out how to record a single thing, actually. None of the audio went through.
We had multiple songs written, finished, and
I mean, it's probably for the better, though. I mean, No Cop, No Stop was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, if people heard Party, their brains probably had seizures. It was too good of a
brains
song.
were melting.
So, it's probably for the best.
So I guess we're just gonna get back with Secret Chorus and sadly, yeah, see what happens.
I turned the mics off. And by the way, I quit.
And that was just it. We had to join back up with the Secret Chorus because we realized we just couldn't make it on our own. And that's pretty sad because we had already begun work on our own album called Guys Who Party. And it was going to have the singles Party and No Cop, No Stop. And plenty of other great songs that never got to see the light of day.
As the Secret Chorus joined back together, the work on their own album continued. The internal problems the group had faced continued as well. These new conflicts within the group almost entirely stemmed from Matthew's influence on Leighton.
A lot of the launch of a supergroup like this requires a change in image. Now, 3 of the members I really like. Their style, their singing, clothing, everything. But one of them really needs to change. I'm thinking more of a gangster attitude to bring to the table, and Leighton has agreed, and I think he has the makings of a future OG.
So one day I was eating lunch with the head of the record label, Matthew, and he talked to me about changing my image. He brought up that gold chain he had given me, and he said, "Put that on. I want you to tell me how it feels." And as soon as I put that on, I knew. I was no more just a normal guy in the group. I was officially the heartthrob. So yes, I do get thousands of women a day.
Now, the whole heartthrob thing was getting old very quickly. I mean, it'd be one thing if he was getting girls, but he definitely wasn't. So, Leighton will tell you he gets, like, thousands of girls a day, but here's the real cut and dry. That's not true at all. He can't even get any of the girls in our group. The girls he's closest to, and he thinks he can get that girl out in the street? No way. If you ask me, he gets less girls than Muhammad Ali.
I'd say it was fairly obvious to everyone that he did not get girls.
While the question of whether or not he got girls is a controversial one, what cannot be denied is the fact that Layton's Instagram posts would show him and various famous women, including Natalie Portman, Scarlett Johansson, and many others.
The Instagram thing was absurd. I mean, look, here he is with Marilyn Monroe, who's been dead for over 50 years, with the caption, "Had fun with my girl Marilyn last night." It's clearly photoshopped.
But I will say, it is very impressive he went out with Marilyn Monroe. I mean, Marilyn Monroe. That's crazy. If you look at his Instagram, there's a picture of them together, and wow, let me tell you, I don't know if I can doubt him again.
Lying about the women he was getting seemed to be one of the ways for Layton to boost his self-esteem. Another way he attempted to do this was turning to drugs.
I went to Matthew and I told him, I need something that's going to make me feel great. And he said, I manufacture this product. And he gave me this little bag. And he said, take one of those. And so I did, and I don't think I've ever felt better.
He would come to recording sessions and say, my goodness, I'm so sorry I'm late, but I'm just so high on drugs right now. We were all worried for his safety.
Well, he carried around this little bag that said drugs on it, and I mean, when I first saw it, I noticed that it said Juice Plus, which is a brand of vitamin gummies. But, I mean, who was I to know that those weren't real drugs?
And you know the weird part is that his performance on drugs was probably the same that he was off drugs. But how are we supposed to know the difference between the two? It's a church group.
So I would just pop one or two of those little guys and I would just be beyond crunk. I would be beyond zoinked and beyond suited. I mean, beyond jabroided. You get the gist.
Now, I personally haven't had one, but Layton tells me if I had just one, it would send me to a whole nother planet.
As the drug use continued, Layton developed quite the attitude problem. He was an interview nightmare and even clashed with Lecrae and Toby Mac.
Layton. How do you feel about recent comparisons to Lecrae?
You know, Lecrae has zero talent compared to us, so it's kind of offensive at this point.
Oh, I heard Toby Mac wants to do a collab album. How do you feel about that?
Toby Mac wishes he could collab with the Secret Chorus. We're past that, Toby. I mean, hindsight, 2020, right? Should I have called out Lecrae and Toby Mac? Probably not. But I mean, you live and you learn.
What resulted was a wave of hate from Lecrae and Toby Mac fans. Stations such as Positive Encouraging K-Love would not play the few Secret Chorus songs that were out. All of this occurred shortly before the release of the self-titled Secret Chorus album. All of these signs would say that would hurt the sales of the album. However, it was that week that the Secret Chorus would hit the stores, and the angelic harmonies of the quartet would shush any hate caused by Layton's antics. The album would very quickly climb to its respective charts, and all who were lucky enough to hear it would recognize the great talent of the Secret Chorus.
Guys, our album just made Christian Acapella Top 100 in the Western Hemisphere Central Time Zone charts. We're #1.
Yeah! There's about to be a lot of money coming our way. How do you spend your money?
Sunglasses. Spend lots of sunglasses. I've got like 50 pairs, yo. It's been pretty cool. And then, yeah, I mean, trips. Like, I go traveling a lot. I've been to like the Poconos, the Bahamas. Oh, Cancun was pretty cool. Pretty rad.
We were practically throwing our money away, spending it on everything in sight. I mean, why would we question where the money was coming from?
I mean, Matthew did sort of mention that the money we were spending lots of wasn't technically ours, but I don't know how you can expect me to realize that's illegal.
This excessive spending would prove painful, especially for Rivers, as with the release of the album came the unwanted attention of Disney CEO Bob Chapek. Rivers had been wearing a Kermit the Frog shirt in the album photo, and Disney's lawyers would immediately begin working on taking Rivers to court.
You know, it was a whole big deal that could be solved with, just me and Disney talking, but that's not how they work. They insisted we have a lawsuit, and Matthew was forced to find a lawyer, and that's how I met Ben through.
Alright, Rivers. I got you a lawyer with your salary benefits. Awesome. He's the best in the business, really high character guy.
Cool.
Good luck out there.
Alright,
Get out of here.
better be the best.
Alright, nice to meet you. It's been through. I'm gonna tell you a couple things. First of all, I'm a lawyer. Second of all, there ain't a snowball's chance in hell you'll get it out of here for free. It's gonna cost you a lot.
Oh, how much?
$5,000.
$5,000?
Make that 500 grand.
500 grand? That's the way to make a deal been through.
Well, it's not every day you have somebody orphan 3 children.
What?
You killed those people.
I didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, right. I saw the file. There's a little thing called lawyer-client confidentiality. So, you can tell me, why'd you do it?
Do what?
You killed those people.
Whose file did you read, been through?
Mr. J. Walker, is that you?
Last time I checked, no.
What's your name?
Rivers Rich, the one who Disney is suing?
Oh, yeah, you're screwed. There ain't a snowball's chance in hell you get out of this scot-free. 600 grand at top.
600? You said 500 for when they kill people.
You cross Disney. That's way, way worse than murdering and orphaning children. So, what's it gonna be? You gonna take the deal, or are you gonna go to prison for life?
I think I need to call my producer. Alright, yeah. Yeah, I'll just take the deal. Alright, Ben, so toss my producer, we'll take the 500 grand.
600 grand, done. Plus hourly fees, of course.
What's your hourly fee?
100 grand per hour. Didn't you know that? I thought your producer would tell you.
You didn't tell me anything.
See you in court, kid.
Well, that was probably one of the worst things that's ever happened to me. First, my producer comes in, says he's got the best lawyer in the biz. I come in and see that guy. He's not a good lawyer.
The lawsuit began, the prosecution being led by Kermit the Frog himself, and despite the insane cost of acquiring Ben through, his work on the court floor was proving more than worth it. As the defense lawyer, he did everything right. It was looking like Rivers would escape the lawsuit without having to pay Disney a penny. However, when the courtroom broke for lunch, the last thing anyone would have expected happened. Ben Through was found dead in the bathroom.
Oh, well, I think that went pretty well. Now, if you'll excuse me for a moment, I gotta take a dump. Hey, a little privacy?
Today at the courthouse, lawyer Ben Through was assaulted and murdered in the bathroom. After taking shots at Disney, someone took many shots at him as he was killed by a gun. The only evidence left at the scene was a Spider-Man mask, meaning the police cannot identify a suspect. In other news, which Ariana Grande song speaks to you? Find out today with the new quiz.
It was just very sad to see. I mean, the case was going so well for them, Ben and Rivers, I mean, and how it could end so poorly, I just don't understand.
And I really don't understand how they didn't look into it more. There's a video of Kermit killing Ben Through. That's substantial evidence, but the police don't think so, whatever that means. But it's obvious who killed Ben Through. He was winning the case, then all of a sudden he dies out of nowhere in the bathroom. Sounds like a planned attack to me.
Well, it was unfortunate because the lawsuit did continue and Rivers had to defend himself. No one wants to see that.
Not only would Rivers have to defend himself in the rest of the case from Disney, but the law firm that Ben Through worked for would also sue Rivers for not providing good enough security to Mr. Through.
Well, that's actually the second tragic death in my life. You see, he was my lawyer, and it's tragic what happened to him. And we were winning the case, which is why I assume he was murdered, because he was doing such a great job for me and in the course. But Now that he's dead, it actually has to restart the entire case. There's also another lawsuit being filed against me from the Been Through agency.
At the same time, police would begin investigating Matthew for his sale of Mary McCracken's book Lovey as his own product, which was being used to fund other businesses.
People have been saying there's a lot of sketchy behaviors going on with the record label and our manager, saying some of our funds are illegitimate. Quite frankly, I disagree.
I mean, Leighton trusts him quite a bit, so I mean, I kind of follow suit. I trust him just as well.
Matthew, he's been all over the place. He worked with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
The Wiggles.
Yeah, he was on the Wiggles. He was behind the scenes for some of the Big Time Rush.
Mm-hmm. He worked with Lionel Richie. He's like a cover artist of Lionel Richie.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He wrote every song with Silly Songs with Larry.
Yeah, he did. The Fairly Odd Parents theme song, he played an instrumental in that role. He's just been everywhere.
We're lucky to have this guy.
He's a talented guy, and he's handling our money well. And it's going nowhere illegitimate, so.
There was also quite the controversy arising within the Bernie Church of Christ, Jacob's place of employment, as they noticed money was missing from the church budget, and an investigation regarding the lost money would start as well, and it would be the fragile ego of Leighton that would unravel the whole plot.
I wasn't in the happiest of moods. I mean, the rest of my bandmates were just bullying me about how I didn't get girls, and when Jacob said that, I just sort of went off.
Yeah, Leighton is the heart and soul of the chorus.
So I had overheard Matthew convincing Jacob that it was okay to steal church money and put it in our accounts.
So you're telling me, Matthew, that if I just put church money straight into our accounts, it's totally legal? Cool!
Now, did I know it was illegal? No. But I went ahead and I told the elders of the church that Jacob had the money, and next thing I know, Jacob's arrested.
I mean, we had just been bullying Leighton, yes, but firing Jacob seemed a little too far. We figured we'd let Leighton cool down until we talked him into rehiring Jacob.
Next thing you know, we can't rehire Jacob because he was in jail. It was all very shocking.
Finally, once Jacob was in jail, we got a chance to look at the actual contract. It was clear now we had been stealing money from the church's accounts, and we got to see what we'd actually have earned.
And that's when we saw it. 5% of the royalties were ours. 5%. That means I went way over budget.
5%? That's like less than 10% of the profits.
It became abundantly clear that Matthew was a criminal.
As the police investigations on Matthew continued, Rivers' lawsuits came to a close, and the Secret Chorus began work on a second album.
You could really tell that every time Rivers came in, you could just see the stress on his face. He lost his energy. He wasn't singing the same. He just didn't have that same spunk after the lawsuit. He wasn't the same.
We were beginning to start the work on our second album, and Rivers would come into the studio and just scream. We tried to tell him nicely that it was too loud, but he just wouldn't listen.
I was standing right next to him, and I could feel some blood coming out of my ears. It was most definitely because my eardrum had just been ruptured by his sheer volume. And I said, Rivers, I'm going to sue you myself for the medical expenses that are going to come from this.
Rivers, I think you're too loud.
I'm not too loud!
We all decided that we just couldn't take it any longer. He had to go.
I was obviously sad about being kicked out, but it gave me a chance to get a good personal investigation on Matthew.
Rivers and the police would both come to the same conclusion. Matthew was a scam artist, and his pseudoscientific products that he sold were in violation of the law.
You see, I found this badge, which I assumed would give me the authority to get a personal, citizen's arrest on Matthew, but as soon as I used this, the real police got there. I know Matthew's running a scam. I'm gonna go arrest him right now. Out of my way, Regina! You're under arrest. Get your hands on the ground. Hands on the ground. Off the keyboard. Get down, get down. Under the power of this badge, you're under arrest. On your knees, right now, on your knees. Knees, in the corner.
I want my lawyer and I want your badge number,
Here's
son.
my badge, no number. I'm above the law.
I know!
What do you think you're doing? Get on the ground! Get on your knees!
Both of you, stay there!
Officer,
Stop! What? Yeah, we got both of them. Both of them are locked up. I'll talk to y'all later. I have a date with Regina tonight. Let's go, babe.
Now, with no record label or contract, the remaining members of the Secret Chorus continued work on their album, now with the hopes of making a reasonable profit, but that would prove a daunting task.
Well, we were having our first rehearsal since kicking Rivers out, and Leighton just would not stop crying.
It was shortly after Matthew's prison sentence, and all I can say was a little bit emotional at that time.
I'm pretty sure it had nothing to do with Matthew. I'm more sure that it had to do with the fact that he couldn't get a girlfriend. He was getting really desperate.
We were trying to sing a song and he was just bawling. It was making singing really hard. Finally, we just asked him what would get him to stop crying.
He effectively asked us both out at the same time.
So you see a throuple, it's just a couple with 3 people, it's honestly better.
As soon as he said throuple, I threw up.
Presley literally threw up. That's when I realized this band thing just wasn't for me.
I just have no idea why they quit. I mean, I guess they were just tired of singing. That's all I can think of.
And almost as quickly as they had rose, they had fallen. The Secret Chorus was dead, and as for Leighton, he decided that he could no longer live his life as an addict anymore, so he turned himself in to the police.
Yeah, we searched the place looking for drugs, but all we could find were these delicious juice plus vitamins.
And turns out they weren't even real drugs.
The other members of their chorus, however, would start the next chapter of their lives.
I got a short prison sentence, but during my time in, the clinker, I met some guys who were in the mafia. They had a front for their entire business, a famous broadcasting network, PBS. Ever heard of them?
Well, before I joined the group, I had been doing some baking on the side. So when it all ended, I just decided that I would go full-time and start my own business. It's been going really well.
So I'm actually making TikToks for a living now, but about the restraining order, Leighton just would not leave me alone. He kept asking if I threw up because of him or because it was just ironic.
PBS was a great way to make fast cash. I needed some money, and I realized puppeteering is what I do best. And this mafia group, they were a group of some famous puppeteers too, so they let me right in.
I used the money I had saved up from being in the band, and I bailed Matthew out of prison. I thought he would be more grateful and help me get back on my feet, but he really just wasn't there for me. He left me in the shed and never spoke to me again. But nowadays, I'll occasionally buy some baked goods from Ashland, and if I turn on the TV, I'll see Rivers on PBS, which is the Puppet Bonanza service. But ever since Presley passed away, I obviously haven't been able to stay in touch with her.
She's not dead.
She came back to life?
Would we ever get back together? Probably not, but I mean, I'd love seeing everybody again.
I've thought of lifting the restraining order, of course, now that time has passed. I really would like to see them all again.
Well, while a reunion is off the table, I'd really love to see them again.
Now, what would I do if I saw all the guys again? I would probably run and give them a big group hug and then have some sweet John Denver song playing in the background as a montage of Secret Chorus played, and then the credits would roll, and that's probably the last thing I would do.
A frosty Christmas Eve, when the stars were shining, I traveled for the lawn, where westward falls the hill, and for many, many a village, in the darkness of the valley, distant music reached me, peals of bells were ringing. Then sped my thoughts to olden times, to that first of Christmases, when shepherds who were watching heard music in the fields, and they sat there and they marveled, and they knew they could not tell whether it were angels or the bright stars a-singing. But to me heard afar, it was starry music, the singing of the angels, the comfort of our Lord, words of old that come a-traveling by the riches of the times. And I softly listened as I stood upon the hill, and I softly listened as I stood